Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dungeon Talks, the weekly companion show to Dungeon Nytes. This week, I am graced with the presence of Gotiruk Bimir, aka Corrupt Savage, and Cataract. Welcome, fellas.
Hey.
Howdy doody.
Oh, howdy doody indeedy. This week on Dungeon Nytes, you're going to have to go back and watch the VOD if you want to know exactly what... No, I'm just kidding. This week, the group picked up where we left off, encountering some orkies, had that whole shebang, and then decided to go and hang out in Axholm. For a little bit. What'd you say? Axel. For a smidge, and that has thus far been fun. But I'm going to kick off this week's questions. Just a reminder for those of us that are here live at twitch.tv/nighttide with us, feel free to ask away your questions of Cataract and Corrupt Savage. You can always submit them beforehand on Twitter. You can always submit them to our Discord. Or you can just DM us because, hey, we're flexible and we just want you to be here. That said, let's Heidi-ho and let's go. So, Savage.
Ooh.
I know. I told you I was going to grill you this week. I've got questions.
Let's go.
So, Gotiruk sees these orcs, and he walks up, and he holds up the hammer. What does Gotiruk expect is going to happen? Like, what does he think's happening at this point?
He's just hoping that maybe they're from the Bear Clan. I was going to say his clan, but we don't know that yet. I don't even know that yet.
I don't think I do either.
He was hoping that that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
But also ready for it not to be, because he knows there's multiple different clans and they could just be a random gang of orcs coming for him. But he was definitely hoping that he could get out of there without having to fight.
You definitely at least did start a conversation.
I tried.
But it was a very pointed and short conversation.
Yeah, they were there for a reason. We were there for a reason. They didn't mesh well. They wanted to fight. They wanted our stuff. We weren't giving our stuff up.
So then I'm going to kick this over to Cataract. How did you like this orc encounter as Cataract?
I was just glad that something actually wanted to fight. It's like straight up, they're here to kick ass and take names, and then we turn around and push their shit back in, and that's all that's all I wanted.
That's all
Clear enemies. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the gray areas sometimes, and the hijinks with Leif and his quest to befriend all monsters, and the Sword Coast is quite admirable, but sometimes you just have to hit something with a bunch of magic and make it explode. That's all I'm saying.
So, Savage, back to you. Did that catch Gotiruk off guard when they all basically just started converging on him?
Not really. I think he knew it was probably going to happen. With him being the tank of the group too, he knows he's going to be out front first. He's going to be the first one taking hits. He needs to be the first one. I took a lot of hits. Took a lot of hits, and if I wasn't raged, I would have died.
Yeah.
Especially the big guy. Did you guys have a thought at who the big guy was in relation to the rest of the orcs?
Oh. Considering you made him a large creature looking thing on the board.
I had to distinguish him some way.
Yeah. It was it's definitely clear that he was something like a cut above. I don't know if he was just like their party leader or something, or maybe even a war chief. But
yeah, he was a war chief.
Seems like if he was going to be a war chief, then he'd have a lot more orcs with him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
I was just glad he wasn't another Blade of Villanval.
That would have been much worse. Blade of Villanval has like almost double the hit points of of a war chief, and also nastier attacks for sure. Although the kind of battle cry ability of a war chief is also actually pretty awesome. Kind of gives advantage on attacks and things like that, which I forgot to do. But hey, you live and learn.
We both forgot things.
We both forgot things. It's totally fine. It balances itself out in the end. But the thing that's interesting is, so that, and again, I try and give a peek behind the curtain here for you guys, but also for everybody else. That original encounter is actually supposed to be 4 orcs. And it's also supposed to be at a much lower level. I think it was supposed to be like a level 3 or 4 encounter. So I figured, hey, double that encounter. Let's go 8 orcs, and I'll bump one up to a war chief and see how you guys do. And again, I shouldn't be surprised, but I continually am. I'm like, I know Moonbeam's a thing. Totally forgot about Leif's Fireball. Like, how did you...
Fireball?
Yeah, Fireball! And it's like, he incinerates like 5 dudes at once. I was like, well, they're gone. Like, bye. I don't even get
Fireball is nasty.
Dude, when you
really
say,
nasty.
hey,
especially at the level that you get it.
Sure. I mean, when you say, hey, we need to add probably more orcs if he was a war chief, like, I agree. I was about to ready to have a whole second wave of another 8 orcs come in. Like, maybe that would have done at least something, but you guys had full action economy basically. Because dealing with those jellies wasn't hardly anything.
Yeah, we were pretty much evenly matched in terms of the action economy, just because they didn't have that many. They didn't outnumber us that badly.
Right.
So,
but again, it's just you guys is continuing to get abilities makes it again an ever increasing quandary as to how much I can actually throw at you without you dying. I think there's one time I just need to just not care whether you live or die and just throw something horrible at you. Because there's that part of me that still wants to show restraint and be like, no, I can't. Like, I have to think that they got this. But then I'm like,
turned the corner.
They really got this though. like
He's gonna throw an ancient dragon at us one day. Just there. Deal with it.
You never know. You never know. I have some trickies up my sleeveys coming in later sessions, but we'll see how you guys do. I'm actually very curious. It's going to be when the thing that I have planned for you hits, there very well might be death. I'm not even kidding. But anyway, so you are able to quickly dispatch of this orc crew, and then Gotiruk, you're looking through the bodies. What did you find?
A Boar clan patch that I'm keeping, and I want information on that possibly later. One I actually made an item and threw that in there so I wouldn't forget it, because I feel like it might come in handy later.
Plus, it's fun to go to the orc conventions and kind of trade them around with people.
Yeah.
Trading cards.
I got bear and boar. I need to find like tiger or something.
Ooh. Ogre boar.
You mean the squirrel clan?
Yeah, the squirrel clan. We'll find the squirrel
clan. We follow Squirrel Man. But your orcs.
I was pretty happy with my cutting words there.
Your cutting words were like on point. I think honestly, that's one of the most frustrating things in the moment, but one of the most coolest things to go back and see. It's like in the moment, I'm like, I'm going to mess him up. No, I'm not. Son of a bitch. Like, you just, like, you're literally like in my head, I'm like this giant orc war chief who just uses this awesome dash ability. I've got the axe coming down on Ashin's head, and Ashin's looking with his eyes all puppy dog, like, all balls. And then you're like, cutting words, and he's like, what the happened?
You hit like the Mouse Clan.
You hit like the Mouse Clan. Big orky scare like elephant. No, it's just fun. It's a lot of fun to see you guys use your abilities so tactfully in those ways.
It's a good thing you wore your brown pants.
Orc no wear pants.
Well, shit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you guys end up then having this conversation, and what are I want to get both of your things, because we know Ashin is not trusting of these dwarves at all. But I want to get your in character, out of character. What do you think of Daislan and Norbus?
I think Bimir just sees them as like fortune seekers. I mean, they're out hunting, like they're out excavating ruins. They're probably looking for treasure. They're looking for opportunities. You know, they're not that different than we are.
Sure.
I don't think that there's any reason not to trust them at more than that. You know, they seem like okay dudes, and they were very upfront with what they wanted us to do and all that stuff. So I'm not sure where Ashin's mistrust is coming from other than his nature. But you know, I think it's good that at least one of us is being cautious about it.
It's fair.
Maybe
Fair
keeping
enough.
an eye out, but like one of the things I struggle with is that like the character that I play in the other game is a very wisdom heavy, insightful person, and Bimir is not that. So like I keep thinking that Bimir is really good at reading people, but he is not really. He's more of a I'm going to just do what I do and make them think the way I do. You know? So it's kind of like whenever I try and roll perception, I'm like, oh, this will be good, and then I realize I only have a +2, and it's like, oh, geez. But you know, it's a little hard to keep everything straight sometimes.
Especially
At
when
least
you
from
bounce
a
from one game to another.
Oh, right on the same night. Ugh. Orc bard, best bard. I disagree.
What about you, Savage?
Gotiruk they're here nor there with him. He doesn't really care. They're just people out there trying to make a living, I guess, for him. So coming up on him, there wasn't any real mistrust or trust. They're just two more people that he has come across in his time adventuring. So he just did what he needed to do and was trying to get out of there and not get killed.
Not getting killed is always a good achievement. So what did you think though? So they start talking about Nomengard. How does that strike you as Bimir? Because Bimir's all into the history. Bimir's the history buff.
I mean, I feel like a city should be something Bimir should know about, but apparently he doesn't have any idea that this existed before. I think they cover major cities in most of the classes, but you know,
it is technically a city built into a side of a mountain, so it's kind of a hidden city. It's not like you're going to come across it on a road.
I mean, it's not an island. They're not, you know, if it's a city, they've got to have some kind of trade and everything, you know? It's not going to be completely cut off from the rest of the world.
Do they have trade though, or are they just known for making magical items?
We've got the freaking Wave Echo Cave here. They might be known for making magical items, and they should be coming to us. It's like, hey,
not wrong.
We've got the most legendary thing for creating magical items in the Sword Coast.
Perhaps, but has anyone told them?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Fair.
So
it's a legend. It's a regional legend. So you know, yeah, they might have been looking for it too.
Well, so then we do come across something that you're somewhat familiar with, Bimir, which is Axholm, and I was honestly surprised that you guys took that bait and decided to go to Axholm. I thought you were just going to kind of go and be like, Banshee, no, keep going. Nomengard, here we come.
But I think the whole idea of a secret dwarven city that's been sealed up and may or may not have a banshee in it just says, let's do some stuff to try and get ready for what this dragon's going to be, because we've seen a banshee before, and yeah, it kind of threw us out of our house with the flick of a wrist, and did some other things that weren't very fun, but that was a while ago, and we were a lot different than we were then. So like, we know a lot more about things than we used to. There's new spells we can cast and everything. So
it's true.
I think for Bimir, at least, trying to go, like, he's also interested from the historical perspective, just like what exactly was this dwarf fortress like,
Sure.
Gotiruk wanted nothing to do with the banshee whatsoever.
I was about to ask. I was like,
he's just, no, I'm good, but the party wants to do it, so he'll do it.
Yeah, we've kind of talked about this in terms of like our own like party chats, not so much in game. Like, we still haven't really broached with Gotiruk. Gotiruk really kind of goes with the flow with the party a lot, and you don't really provide, or I would say you, but he doesn't really provide a whole lot of input at this point still. Do you think that's more symptomatic of him still kind of feeling outside, or how do you think that? Why do you think that
less that and more, he's a get things done. If this is what you want done, he'll do it. If we decide to go fight the dragon, even though he does not want to anytime soon, he's going to do it. The party wants to do it. That's the job. Let's get it done. And that's just kind of how he is. If he can hit it and people want him to hit it, he'll hit it.
It's fair. It's fair. So you guys go to Axholm and you're trying to figure out how to get inside. And I think one of my favorite parts of this session was being able to play Daislin and Norbus and have the wonder of seeing your magic happen. Where it's like, back up. Why we back it up? Back up. What do you mean back up? Norbus, back up. And it's just a boom, and it's like, what in the hell happened there? It's just the wonder of being able to see that, and I think that it's a lot of fun. Like you said, if it's fun, but it to me it is. It's a lot of fun to be able to embody characters that know that magic exists, that have probably seen magic before. Again, they're dwarves, but to see kind of fabled heroes that they're familiar with wield powerful magic in front of them that they maybe haven't seen before is such a cool, fun item to explore, where you just get to be like, how'd you do that? How'd he do it? How'd he do it? Just like the same thing with going through the portcullis, right? This is an impenetrable dwarf fortress. You'll never get through that portcullis. Boom.
How'd
he do it? You know what I mean? It's a really interesting idea. But beyond that, we did have Gotiruk. You had a new experience this week with being phase stepped. Is that what it is?
Phase stepped.
Yeah.
Misty face step, whatever it's called. Yes, Gotiruk is
face step. Yeah.
Was
like, Gotiruk, you want to do
caught
this?
off guard,
like,
but also yeah. Yeah, he kind of wanted a little more explanation, but at the same time, I trust him. They said it wouldn't hurt. Send me.
Well, it didn't hurt until you fell on a ballista or smack dab on your crotch.
Yeah. That stung a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's a heavy boy.
He's a heavy boy.
Hey, at least it didn't fire the bolt.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, we didn't even ask if the bolts were loaded. That's actually a really good thing to know. There's 7 ballistas on each side of that wall, pointed across the way. I wonder what would happen if they fired across and hit the other wall in an ancient fortress that hasn't been fired in forever. Interesting ideas.
Don't give Gotiruk any ideas.
But then you get into a situation, Gotiruk, where now you've lifted your little dwarf companion up into this place. You get face stepped into this place, and now it's up to you to lift this portcullis. Walk me through that, because that was kind of funny for me to watch.
Part of me knew it was probably going to be too heavy, but I wanted Gotiruk to flex a little bit. He knows he's stronger than most. So he was just going to try.
Everybody.
Yeah, almost everyone. So he was just going to try and go for it. And if it worked, great. If not, he would go and, try to heal his pride later.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Gotiruk have, and I think the reason I call this out specifically is we've seen Gotiruk have that kind of pride, right? But that also sense of protectiveness over your group. But I've never seen Gotiruk step up to a place where maybe against Brugor initially, I feel like that was really still you kind of in like, I really want to find out who I am mode, much less more of a pride mode. Like this was the first time where you have Norbus is like, hey, let me help you. I can grab the other handle, and you're like, F off, dwarf. And I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that from you.
He's getting a lot more comfortable in the setting. He had that been maybe just a regular human, maybe he would have acted differently. He doesn't feel as weird about dwarves as he does just regular civilian folk. And like I said, he's getting a lot more comfortable. The whole thing with Ashin, I think, was it the session before, saying, thank you for being my brother and all that. He's feeling really like this is his place. And so now that this is his place, what can he do to solidify that, hey, I'm here. This is me. I'm not trying to hide anymore. So he was kind of flexing a little bit, doing a little showboating.
You hulked out. Did you rage in that moment? I can't remember. Did you rage? Yeah, you were like, I rage. I was like, oh, shizzle sticks, you rage. Wow. Okay. Well, we're raging. What is it? That was your second rage of the day though, right?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I can do 4.
No, it was your first because we had the long rest right before we started.
No, he did one at the orc fight.
Right, and then we had the long rest before
we slept. Okay, no, okay. I raged at the thing, and then I raged later in the episode.
I was about to say this is going to get real interesting if you only got 1 rage left. Oh boy,
you have 2.
I have 2.
I know. I'm saying this was going to get real interesting if you only had 1 left. I was like, oh boy.
Well, now it's 3 because of the long rest. But
yeah, you're right. I do have 3. Let me check my sheet.
Do you have 4 rages now?
Yes, I have 4.
Yeah, nice.
So I felt okay spending that rage there.
That's fair. I like it. Not afraid to spend the rage for the RP. I dig it. So let's talk about level 7. So once again, a couple weeks ago, we did a session. We raised $700 for the Children's Miracle Network. One of the milestones we hit was $500. You guys got level 7. GG's. So you guys got level 7. Tell me a bit more about your level 7, which I know was a bit less climactic for you guys, but kind of what did you take and why?
Bimir, you want to start with that one?
Sure.
So cute when you call you guys by your character names.
Like it's level 7's an interesting one because it's kind of right before you get another ability score improvement and right after you get some interesting class stuff. But the major thing for full casters like bards and clerics and mages is that you get access to 4th level spells. And anytime you get access to a new circle, it's just you're opening up a whole new door of fun. And speaking of doors, my spell was Dimension Door.
Which was awesome.
I feel bad that Leif felt so bad for kind of jumping the gun on that. I made it worse because like when I was trying to describe it and he said, "Oh, dimension door," and I'm like, and then I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't mean to do that."
I didn't even hear him say
did
it. That's why I was like, I was caught up in the moment of you describing it. You're like, I open up this awesome like square or something, and I was like, oh, what's he doing? I didn't even hear it.
It was like barely under his breath, like, and I caught it.
I don't know why it was so. I don't know why it was so distracting to me, but yeah, I
didn't even see you like skip a step. I think I saw you look, and I was like, why is he looking? Keep going. Tell me about what this thing does. Yeah. I'm so excited.
But yeah, Dimension Door is a really neat spell because it can take you pick a point within 500 feet.
Okay.
And if you can envision it or describe it, then you just go there. And you can take another person with you. Like you could even say, I want to go 500 feet straight north.
Ooh.
And like you'd go there. And because like one of the things I was considering when we were trying to get through the portcullis and that big door is to just see if we could, is to try just doing a dimension door to the other side of the door. So that we could just see if there's a way to open it from the other side. I think that probably would have ended badly because of whatever is causing all that stench on the other side of the door.
I mean, you never
know. But at the same time, it's definitely a spell that's great for mobility, and that's mostly why I took it. I was looking for another. Like most of the spells that Bimir has are very much utility focused, and while he does have a few damaging things like Shatter and what's the other one? Dissonant Whispers.
Mm-hmm.
He's really focused on on support, and I think that Dimension Door is a great tool in the tool bag for doing that kind of thing.
So what are the rules around Dimension Door? Like how can you use that? Can you only transport one other person?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's you and one other person that's within 5 feet of you.
Okay.
So it's not like I could take the whole party through and totally end up somewhere else. There are totally different spells for doing that kind of thing. But it's definitely useful for getting places that you want to be, or for getting out of situations that you don't want to be in.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. It's a
good
good
spell.
It's a good utility. If I probably, there were a few other spells that I was looking at taking. I can't think of them off the top of my head. I should bring up the sheet just so I'd have it. But the other thing that's really nice about just about having access to 4th level spell slots is that you can cast your other spells at higher levels, and they do more things. So like every time you cast Fireball at a higher level, it adds another d6 of damage, I think, or maybe even 2d6. Mm-hmm. So like anytime you just want to take another spell, like take a spell and kick it up a notch, if the spell allows you, then it's a great idea to, maybe cast it at a higher level and do some extra damage. So,
oh yeah, pretty awesome.
I've done it a lot with Spirit Guardians, and kind of thinking about that was favorite. One of the things I was thinking about taking for my magical secrets as Bimir is just Spirit Guardians again, except I don't want to. I think it would make things more confusing.
Potentially.
At least for me.
So, talk to me, Mr. Gotiruk, about your level 7.
Heat. can't be surprised anymore. And he has advantage on initiative rolls, which is great for being a tank. I kind of like going first, so having advantage on that definitely helps out with that.
Sure.
And then, as long as I'm not incapacitated, I can move when the rest of the party's surprised. I can go. So if I need to stop something, uh, especially with the advantage on initiative, I might be able to actually go before them and stop them before they hurt somebody else in the party.
Yeah, that's pretty clutch ability.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if it will ever be used because we're fairly stealthy and we don't get surprised too often. I got surprised when I burst through that door when we were saving Dungeon.
Yeah, that was a rough
That
one.
was my fault. But I don't think we've really been surprised too often.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see if how that's going to play out, and
Yeah, you guys
hopefully it'll have some chances to help.
You guys as a party are fairly stealthy. Like you have some really high modifiers when it comes to being able to really weigh those stealth rolls, especially as a party higher. I think if you ever get in situations where you might have to be individually stealthy, right? Like kind of like what happened with you, right? You get separated from the group a bit because you're trying to open this door, but then there's no way for you to get back out, right? Because the way that this kind of entryway is designed is it's basically just a giant entryway with huge murder holes just going straight down the gullet with a portcullis. Then you get past the portcullis, there's still two big doors and more murder holes that are going into this area. There's no doors that connect that from those actual, opposing sides. So you guys start walking down a hall and all of a sudden you get attacked by an unusual creature.
That probably would have went different had I rolled the correct rolls.
Very different.
Yeah.
And cut in half. You okay, little buddy?
We're done.
I think it's probably for the best though, because at least now you've got Ashin and Bimir with you.
Yeah.
It's 100% truth. Like, what do you think? So Gotiruk's seen a lot of stuff, right, at this point. But how does Gotiruk take the sight of a dwarven ghoul?
In the moment, it's something he needs to kill.
Sure.
After taking a look at it, he'll probably be like, okay, what like what is this thing? Is this I can tell it's a dwarf, but why is it like that? What turned it into that? And can that thing turn us into that?
Well, you heard
he's gonna have some
story,
questions,
right?
Yeah. So he's gonna be a little bit interested in what's going on there. Ask some more questions.
I'm just glad we made all our saves there.
That 100%. I'm not going to tell you what happens afterwards if you don't make those saves, but it's not good. It's not good. Like,
I don't remember exactly what ghouls do, but a lot of undead, whenever you get hit by them, they have a lot of negative effects that can happen to you, like lowering your constitution score, giving you negative levels, which are always fun, reducing your maximum hit point total, giving you diseases. It's all
infectious
kinds of
little bastards, those
fun
ghouls.
and random crap that undead can do to you if you're unfortunate enough to get hit by them and do not resist whatever.
And it's not like
that they are.
It's not like it's a low check either. I mean, I think it was like a 13. Like that's not a terribly low check to have to beat.
Yeah.
Especially with Constitution, right? Like I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, if this happens, we're gonna have to roll a step block for Norbus real quick because I wasn't anticipating this. But yeah, I think that it's definitely an interesting kind of new-ish type of foe that you guys have to fight in this area where you really haven't dealt with a ton of undead beyond the zombies in the Wave Echo Cave, right? Like and zombies are one thing, but ghouls are they're a whole other kind of ball of wax from
Yeah.
the Wave Echo Cave. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. We're definitely going to feel the we're definitely going to miss the presence of a real divine caster like a paladin or a cleric. I think in this particular situation, just because they're so effective at dealing with undead.
How so? Like I understand. It's like I understand that like people really like having like a paladin or a cleric in the party, and I've read over stat blocks, right? You get the divine smites and all these kinds of things. You get turn undead and like some of these other kind of abilities and spells. But like beyond that, is there like a specific thing that just makes them better at dealing with undead, or is it more of just kind of like a typically they're built so that they deal with undead better?
Typically they're built that way. I mean, like you said, turn undead is an obvious choice for dealing with especially lower level undead things. Like one of the things that you get as a higher level cleric is the ability to just flat out destroy undead. So like if you do a turn undead and like I think it's level 5, any undead that are hit by that turn that are under a CR 1/2 or something are just destroyed. They're not even, it's not even running away. They just evaporate.
That's awesome.
The other thing that's really nice about that is that divine casters generally have a lot of radiant attacks. And radiant attacks are generally like undead creatures are generally more susceptible to radiant damage. A lot of like vampires, for example, they're not vulnerable to radiant damage, but it stops their regeneration whenever they take it.
Right.
So and some of them are just straight up vulnerable to radiant. But yeah, mostly like turn undead is nice to have, even though I don't think I've ever used it on my other cleric. But
so again, when something is kind of has like a weakness, right? Like let's say undead are weak to radiant energy. Whenever you hit that attack, is that just double damage automatically? Is that what that is?
I believe so. I know it's like
look.
Resistance is halved and then vulnerable is double. I don't remember though.
We'll have to look that up. Not that we'll need it, but we'll have to look it up anyway. Learning time for all of us. But so you kind of made a funny face, Savage, whenever I was talking about like the scary story, right? So like you heard the story about the Banshee the night before, right? Like I think what Norbus tells you guys. What did you guys think of that little kind of scene around the campfire?
I enjoyed it. I always enjoy those little random stories that come out of the overarching RP. So I definitely enjoyed it. Gotiruk was like, meh. Scary stories. People tell stories all the time. People have told stories about him. So he just kind of like, take it or leave it. A little salt, whatever. If something's in there, we'll kill it. But
it's
if it's
about
a Banshee, I don't want
though.
it. People tell crazy stories all the time.
Fair enough.
That's why he doesn't like bards.
Especially when he ends it with, yeah, but who knows? It's just a story.
Yeah, who knows? It's just a story.
It's a country. It's a big deal. So I'm excited to see where the next session goes and to have you guys continue on through Axholm. Do you guys have any predictions about what you might find there?
I think if we don't encounter a Banshee at some point, I'll be super surprised.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean that's a safe bet.
I think it'll be interesting if we end up encountering the Banshee and kind of, clearing out some of the undead that are there. It might be interesting to see what the dwarves had to leave behind in their haste. to get out of there. Maybe some treasure, maybe some lost knowledge, maybe some lost technology or something that could help out Phandelver or Phandalin, I mean.
Well, so that's one of the things, right? So they talked about how Axholm being this fortress, especially being in the side of a mountain and highly defensible, is probably a good place for the people of Phandalin should the dragon ever attack again. Like, did you guys actually process that at all from a character perspective, or is that kind of like a yeah, whatever?
I didn't think too much of it, or I guess Gotiruk didn't think too much of it. Like I said, he was just there. He's along for the ride. But I definitely thought, hey, this could be something that comes up later. I should remember it, write it down in notes or something.
Because the reason I was kind of caught off guard, because again, you guys were just kind of like you said earlier, Cataract, right? Hey, let's just go in there. We got to fight a dragon. We might as well fight a banshee. We're leveled up. Let's go do this. I figured the kind of allure of, hey, this could probably be a good place that's more safe from a dragon than an open city would at least be somewhat of a motivation. It didn't seem like that glossed over. It seemed like that was like just right over the heads. No care whatsoever. It's just like, all right, go kill the banshee. I'm like, fine by me. I'll continue to dribble, drip feed you guys motivation as we go. But if you don't need it, you don't need it.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not really sure why we didn't put up more resistance to hey, let's tear down this door that's been sealed for however many years that the whole dwarven city had to be evacuated because there wasn't anybody strong enough to fight this thing that drove out the occupants of this fortress. But
I ain't complaining.
I think that it's kind of a cockiness that we've developed after dealing with some of the crap that we've gone through already. That's kind of built up, and because we have yet to face a challenge other than the green dragon that we fought that had any chance of bringing us low in our minds. So the fact that
but you did have the encounter where a dragon did attack the village already, or attack the city already.
Yeah. And
I figured that'd be a sting that was still fresh in the mind, at least.
Yeah. But we all
Probably should have been.
We also kind of agreed that we also kind of agreed that we also kind of agreed that we weren't really ready for it, but at the same time, there's a difference between like saying that you're not ready for it and knowing that you're not ready for it.
Okay.
And I think that we're like there's a bunch of feelings on my side at least that are like, well, he's not going to put us against something that we can't win against, but at the same time, that's not something that Bimir thinks of, sure. Because Bimir has no concept of game mechanics obviously, but it's that's one of those things that's difficult to separate from the character and the player, is that
hubris.
Clearly we want to go into this dwarven fortress for loot and experience as players, but so it's kind of easy for us to kind of skim over the characters' motivations for going in there, even though they might still be there, just we hadn't really thought about why they would want to go in yet. I think if I had to say that Bimir was motivated to go in there, it would probably be so that they could try and fight some more things to gain experience, especially as a group and encountering more deadly things.
Yeah.
Not that the ghouls that we went up to fight put up much of resistance once we figured out how to roll the dice correctly. But, you know, I think, and if there's anything in there that they can use to, like maybe there's books that have stuff about dragons in them or something in there, or maybe there's spells that we don't have in there that we could find, you know, that sort of thing.
Gotiruk wants a shiny new weapon.
Oh, that's coming.
I
All
know.
in due
Gotiruk
time.
doesn't know that.
We need to figure out
Gotiruk
what that
doesn't know
actually.
that.
I need to figure out what that thing's actually gonna do. That's gonna be the kicker. I gotta figure out how that thing's gonna work.
I'm not prepared for that moment.
I don't think any of us
Because
are at this
I
point.
know that it's gonna
I've got some
happen.
ideas, I think, if you want to talk about it offline or
Sure.
something.
I know it's gonna happen as a person, so it's not like there's not gonna be that surprise.
Sure.
I'm trying to figure out how Gotiruk would react, because obviously he's gonna be surprised. He knows nothing about it. But it's hard to get that into my head and actually act out. Because I know it's gonna be a moment, but I just don't know how big of a moment I should make it without overdoing it or underdoing it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean it's there's a lot of great swords that you can kind of choose from as I'm looking at this. And there's some certainly nifty looking ones, right?
Yeah, I think though this is probably the kind of weapon that we would have to do something a little custom for.
I 100% agree. I just always look for those for inspiration, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, let's kind of see what this is. And there's a couple
And
that
Bimir did say he's putting magic into it.
right,
So,
he's going to put some kind of enchantment into it.
So I don't think it would be too bad for me to kind of collaborate and figure that out.
Please do.
We do have some questions.
Do we now?
In the
Do we
Discord.
have questions?
We have some questions in the Discord. All right, hit us with them.
Thanks to Sir Geigen.
All right, Geigen, if you're here live, you can always just put them in chat. We'll move them over there.
So
yes.
He said, if your character could go back in time and change one thing about their life, what would it be?
Ooh.
And Gotiruk would stay and fight, even though it probably would kill him.
What do you mean?
He would have stayed and fought with his parents. That whole thing.
In the backstory.
Parents are dead.
Yeah, but you were really young.
He ran. I know, but that's the way Gotiruk thinks. He would have stayed and fought.
Okay.
Would have killed him. He would have died, but it would have happened.
Or been abducted. You never know.
Or been abducted. Who knows?
Who knows?
As far as Bimir, I think we haven't really talked about Bimir's backstory that much at all. Like I think it's common knowledge that his father is missing and that he wants to find him.
Sure. But
a lot of the stuff around that was kind of outside of his control and he didn't really have it's kind of hard to have regrets about it whenever there's nothing he could have done.
Sure.
Probably the only thing that he would have liked to go back and change at this point would be to remember to be more diplomatic earlier, like before he left Leyland.
Okay.
And that's kind of vague because we haven't actually covered that part of Bimir's backstory yet, though we might if we ever end up going to Leyland.
Good. You never know what the future holds.
So keep watching Dungeon Nytes and look for when we eventually get to Leyland, and hopefully Knight rereads that part of the backstory before we go there. So.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
So next question. Does your character regret any particular choice the party has made? Ooh, I bet I know one for Bimir, but I'm not sure about one for Gotiruk.
He isn't dead, so no. He's not dead, so
I'm
no.
alive.
I'm here. I'm alive.
Life is
Everybody's
good.
here. Might be another scar, but hey, it's all good.
I mean, obviously Bimir would if Bimir could take back what he did to the cultists in the ruins there, he would. But he's also kind of in a place where he understands that bad things are going to happen and he's going to make mistakes, and yeah, they're going to cost lives, but at the same time there's a threat or a risk that comes with inaction as well. And I think that's probably why he that encounter with the cultists is probably why he lets Leif try all of the schemes with the, asking the Chimera or whatever to be friends or whatever. He doesn't.
The Manticore.
Yeah, the Manticore. Yeah, asking the Manticore to be friends or trying to.
I don't think he was asking him to be
get out
friends.
of a fight. Trying to get out of a fight. I feel like it's kind of bringing him back around to where, killing the cultists was a mistake, but it was probably the best. It was probably a good tactical decision for fighting things normally. Like if he had already established, if he had known that they were, if they were actually an evil cult, then doing what they did was probably the right thing to do. The fact that they were kind of harmless and weak was not expected. So it's difficult. It's definitely a regret that he has that they went in, full bore on him.
Right.
But they were also being shady as hell. So
see, that's the thing. I think that I always feel like Bimir regrets that, but I think that, like you said, there's a valuable lesson learned there for Bimir. But I also think that was a kind of growing up moment for Bimir, right? Like you said, before this whole adventure, most of his life was academic, and that was the first time where he's like, I got this spell, I'm about to use it, and then it's like, boom, uses it, kills 2 people. Right. And then you go inside and you realize these actually weren't horrible people. And then Ashin kills the 3rd dude and you're like, holy shit, what just happened? And it's like at that moment, I don't want to say like it got real in that moment because you'd seen goblins and they'd taken people hostage, but you guys really had not, like you said, you really hadn't been challenged at that point. And so I think this was kind of, again, Bimir with that kind of, haughtiness that he has at times. And he was just like, watch this, boom. And then all of a sudden like, oh crap, my actions have consequences, and I like the fact that you feel like he's, tactically in my mind, it's the right decision, take out as much as you can, catch him by surprise. But at the end of the day, you're still might going to make mistakes. And that's just something you have to deal with when you're in battle. And that is what it is. It's never clean. It's ugly. I love that. I love it. Oh my goodness. Who in the party would you character prioritize rescuing in dire circumstances?
Ooh. Who asked that one? 'Cause
That's Geigen.
First of all,
It's
That's
all
Geigen.
Geigen. These are all
it's
Geigen.
all Geigen.
These are all
Geigen,
Geigen. I can
I
tell
love
you
you
who
and
I would
hate you.
rescue first. 100% who I would rescue first. Although depending.
I think Bimir, in all honesty, would probably go for Leif first.
Yep, that would be Hyde pick.
Just because I feel like Gotiruk can take care of himself. Ashin can pretty much take care of himself. Asteria can transform into a freaking bear.
Or other things.
You know, Leif is just the one that's the most vulnerable both from a physical standpoint and the fact that he can't wear armor and that kind of thing, but also from a in Bimir's mind, the naivete that Leif has is super counterproductive to continued survival in his mind. So he would definitely be prioritizing Leif in dire circumstances. And like you can tell, like when we're fighting, like Bimir's not really focused on healing Gotiruk because Gotiruk has damage reduction. Like he doesn't. Well, we say that Gotiruk has damage reduction, and Bimir would say Gotiruk's really good at taking a punch. But he's always thinking that he's got to save what he has for the worst case, and the worst case is probably one of the casters getting hurt pretty bad. So
I want to say that Gotiruk could go for Ashin, but I feel like he would almost end up having everyone die because he couldn't make a decision. Or he would try to trade places, and if it's him or somebody else, he definitely put anyone else in the party for himself. He'd take the hit. I guess my final answer would be he would go for Ashin.
Okay.
Just because of the bond that he has with him. And then maybe regret his choices if something happened to the others. Or if Ashin felt like he could have handled it himself.
It's actually a super relevant question for Bimir now, especially when he's got Dimension Door, because he can only take one person with him on that.
I think that's a really good question. We're coming up on time here, so I'm going to touch on one thing. Schmidt had a question: is there a love interest between Bimir and Asteria? No, there's a love interest between Ashin and Asteria.
No, Bimir has no desire to get killed by Ashin.
Yeah.
Even
if he might think
or Asteria, she might.
If the leafy one is pretty, the leafy one is pretty, but no, the leafy one is forbidden fruit pretty. You don't touch.
Yeah.
No touchy.
No touchy.
But no, I think it's interesting the reasons you give for why you would go for who you choose, because I could totally see Gotiruk going literally for anyone that's closest to him, right? Like, and I see that. I totally you have that, like, this is my family defender mindset. Whereas Bimir, I see you going for Leif but I would have thought you would have been going for Leif not because of you view him as weak, but more that you view him now as one of the strongest party members that needs to stay alive. Like, Leif literally now has mage armor, he's got the staff of defense, and he has incredible power that he's displaying, right? Like the fireball, the fire bolt, some of these other spells, the amplified darkness, all of these different things. He is a versatile tool on the battlefield and could really change the tide of battle. Now, Asteria can do that kind of stuff too with Moonbeam and Wild Shape and those types of things, but she already kind of has Ashin as someone is he's going to drop everything to defend her. Leif is kind of like this pawn that has made its way to the other end of the board, and now it's a rook, right? Like, he is this really powerful piece now in terms of the party. Whereas before, I agree with you. He was definitely a weaker member of the party, kind of had some cool abilities, but you know what I mean?
Well, and I think his opinion will probably shift more that way as we fight more with Leif's new, like with Leif's abilities, now that he's actually
and
now
he's
that he's
cold
actually
as
using
he's
them.
cold AF, man. Like he didn't hesitate at all. He's like, no talking to orcs. He's like, orcs want to fight, fireball. And I was like, oh shit. Oh, damn. I was like, okay. But ladies and gents, that is unfortunately our time for today. So you know what? You should totally prioritize being here in person on Wednesday nights at twitch.tv/nighttide. If not, you can always catch up with us on the YouTubes. Please make sure that you are liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification icon to come hang out with us more, and check out a couple of the other playlists that we got going on, either the rest of the Dungeon Talks episodes and or our first campaign, even some DM vlog stuff that I've got going on. Go ahead, consume all the content, and let us know what you think. And of course, always stay tuned to everything Dungeon Nytes. We love your faces, and we're going to continue the after show here live. See you, everybody.